So today I'm back with another uni related video. As you can see, back at uni in very comfy clothes, hence why I'm in a hoodie. Today I'm going to be doing quite a bold titled video on how to write a dissertation. Obviously me, Phoebe from Devon, isn't going to tell you how to write a dissertation and get a first and write a good dissertation at that. I am just here to go through some bits that I think helped me write my dissertation, made it less stressful. Please don't hold me to anything, I'm only here to explain how I got through mine. I just thought I'd give you a brief overview as to what I did my dissertation on. If you haven't watched some of my previous videos where I've explained it, I did my dissertation on the hidden factor of diet culture surrounding the topic of eating disorders and whether that had an influence on eating disorders or not, or whether it does have an influence on eating disorders, because obviously diet culture is a new concept and it's, you know, very much now. So yeah, that's what I wrote it on. It's a very sensitive topic, very personal topic. I really enjoyed researching into it and finding out more about it because it is a topic that I'm really interested in. Like, it's so personal to people, and I think it's something that can touch a lot of people in the fact that they've known someone or go through it themselves. My first and probably the most important point of this whole video or your whole dissertation is planning. Planning everything out section by section, with each chapter, each topic, each paragraph. I literally planned everything. I love writing plans, layouts, lists, everything. It just helps kind of have a base of something that you can always look back to and know exactly where you need to go next, or where you forgot, or where you should have gone in this direction. So I took probably about 2 weeks at the beginning of when I started writing to solely focus on planning my dissertation, the layout, how I wanted each chapter to look, the kind of topics that I wanted to be spoke about in each chapter. I think it's really important to write down exactly what things you really want to be included in the dissertation, stuff that you cannot miss out, topics that maybe you'd like to touch on but not go more in depth, and list them all out and then divide them into chapters and work out what your chapters are going to be about and kind of the flow and the story of your dissertation, because I think it's so easy at the start to get so overwhelmed with this huge topic that you need to talk about in essentially not a lot of words. I am going to be showing you little snippets of how I planned, parts that I'm talking about and kind of what it looked like to me. So every university is different in the way that they lay out their dissertations, or they like their dissertations to be laid out. So just make sure that you go onto your university site and find out exactly the order they want your dissertation to look. So, you know, title page, contents page, aims, objectives. All universities are different. My dissertation was different in the sense that it was only 5,000 words, and that's not a lot for a dissertation, but my dissertation isn't what I'm solely focusing on in my last semester. I mean, I finished it now, it's done, it was done in January. A lot of universities just have, as your third year, your main focus is your dissertation, and that wasn't the case for me. I've got a way bigger project to be focusing on. A dissertation was just something on the side, so that's why it was only 5,000 words. This is kind of what I do. Even if I did have a 10,000, 20,000 word dissertation to do, I do exactly these same steps, just twice as much. Which kind of goes on to the next section of research, because research and planning kind of go hand in hand. You have to do both to be able to do them individually. For research, I took a whole week, every single day researched a different part of my dissertation. I think it's so important to research and have, you know, references, quotes, statistics, everything, and kind of background knowledge in your head before you start writing it. Gives you, again, a base to look back on, and within those sections that you plan out, you can punch in all your references and all of the statistics and quotes and figures and information that you need to know to make your dissertation flow. So when you come to writing a section, you're not spending loads of time going back on the internet to try and find a little bit more information out about that, and then coming back to your writing, because it just gets really disjointed. During writing your dissertation, you are going to want to research more as you're going along, because your dissertation never stays on the same path that you want it to. I think I honestly changed the idea of my 3 chapters at least 3 different times, and the order in which they went in, so it does change the flow of your dissertation. So you do have to research throughout it, because you kind of go down different pathways and go back on yourself. So it's really good to have that base of knowledge and research sorted and sus, so that you don't overwhelm yourself with so much information that you just get really confused. By planning everything out at first and having a layout, and then researching and knowing exactly everything that you want to include, you can, you know, ooh, this is a nice little action here. You can kind of put 2 and 2 together, and it will just make your life so much easier when it comes to writing it. It's hard enough writing a dissertation when it's all planned out, let alone can't imagine being these type of people that leave it to the last week and then every single day just smash out a load of research and work, or like even do it in a couple of days. I don't understand that. I'd stress myself out and just cry endlessly. Another part of planning research is just scheduling your time wisely. So I obviously had my start date of when I wanted to start researching, writing everything, my dissertation, and I had my end date, my hand-in date, and everything in between. I scheduled out each section of my dissertation as to when I wanted a section to be finished, so that I was never overwhelmed and felt like I was really behind on it. I know a lot of people just fit their dissertation in as to when they could and had free time, but I couldn't do that. I had to have set dissertation days, and then I knew that I was on track, and I just wasn't stressed. I actually really enjoyed the process of writing my dissertation, which is really weird. I just found it really interesting. Sit down and write probably about 300 to 500 words a day, which doesn't seem like a lot at all. But by the time you've researched everything and what you want to put in it, and if you have to research further, that's more than enough, because I found I really wanted to focus on these words and read back and read through everything that I'd already done. Focusing on small chunks of the dissertation and doing small parts but often worked so much better than doing big chunks at a time, because it just, again, is really overwhelming. And I really wanted to focus on the wording that I use, and I didn't want to babble on anything and repeat a load of words. It is so easy to repeat words, especially when you're talking obviously about the same topic for a long period of time. The amount of times I used influence and had an effect on was ridiculous. So thesaurus was my best friend, and I just made sure I found different words for words, if that makes sense, so that I didn't sound stupid and just repetitive throughout my whole dissertation. I changed so many sentences throughout, and it just meant that I had the time throughout the day to focus on doing those 300 to 500 words, and then going back and reading it over and over and over and changing words to make myself sound essentially more intelligent than I probably am. The beginning of each chapter, I did a huge spider diagram on each chapter and let my thoughts just throw up on paper, basically. So I did obviously my original points and everything I wanted to include in the chapter, and then I went off on tangents on opposing theories, or, you know, arguments and things, and different pathways down each section, so that I had some kind of depth to my chapters and I had options to go down. Because at the start I'd always start writing it. First I'd be really overwhelmed and think, yeah, I've got loads to write about, I'll be fine. And then I'd start it and think, shit, I've only done 600 words. I don't know what else I'm going to write about. Am I going to be able to fill, you know, kind of the amount of words I want to write for this chapter? I had a rough idea as to how many words I wanted for each chapter and each section, so that I hit my 5,000 word count and didn't go over by a lot. It puts it all down on paper, exactly what I wanted to say and every single avenue that I could go down, and then from that I organised it into an order that I could flow into other topics. And then I'd begin writing the chapter, and I could always look back and think, right, I'm talking about that next, so don't go off on a tangent about that now, touch on it, but you are going to be talking about it in the next paragraph. Another big one is referencing as you go. My god, if I left referencing to the end, I think I could spend a full week on referencing everything that was in my dissertation and doing it correctly. Everything I researched, every website, I copy and pasted the URL and put it into a Word document and put that as my website's research. Any book I used, I put it into a Word document. Any source, any documentary, any film, TV show, whatever it was, I just put it into a Word document. And then every single day that I did a bit of work and I got some new research, I'd go on to RefWorks, which is the site that I use. That's just what my university recommend, because you can put in my university's style of Harvard referencing. It will export your bibliography on how you put all your references in that style, so you don't have to kind of faff around with it, which is perfect and such a lifesaver. I'd just do that every day, again small but often, and it just built up over time, and I had like so many references. But I can't imagine being so overwhelmed with all the references and having to do it all at once, because it's so tedious, it is so boring. I would sit there and I'd be like, right, I'm going to reference 10 things now, and then tomorrow I'll reference another 10. It is just hands down the worst part of the dissertation is referencing. And then obviously I had my appendices, so I had to write up everything that all my interviewees said in our interviews, word for word. I had to image reference, and I had to write an image list as well. So there's a lot to do. I think people think that once they've done the bulk and all their chapters of the dissertation, that's fine, they don't have much to stress about, but my god, I think my referencing and appendices and everything took longer than my chapters to do. Another one is getting as much feedback as you can, really, and different opinions on what you're writing. We had one-to-one tutorials in university, which helped a lot. I'd go to those weekly and I'd speak to my mentor, my dissertation tutor, about how I was getting on and getting her to read it and her opinions, and it gives you new ideas, and it gives another point of view that maybe you didn't even think about at all. We had a lot of times where I went in and she said, oh well, what about that? And I'd be like, wow, I didn't even think of it in that way, but because I've got her opinion, I could then think about it. Even if that's your mum, your dad, your friends, anyone, just get them to read it. Even if they're not academic or not even interested in the topic, just get their point of view on something, even if it's like the layout, or if a sentence doesn't sound right. Everyone knows kind of basic English, so they're gonna, you know, have some idea. I cannot imagine handing in my dissertation without having feedback from someone. Like, I hear a lot of people on my course say, oh yeah, I only went to a couple of tutorials. I think I must have been the only person seeing my tutor because I honestly went every week for however many weeks it was, 12 weeks. She probably got very bored of me, so I'm very sorry about that. I went to see her all the time, I got my mum to check it, I got my friends to read it as well, so feedback is good and will help you. Even if you don't like getting that criticism, can be helpful sometimes. And my last point, to kind of sum up everything, I suppose, is just plan ahead and don't leave everything to the last minute, or anything to the last minute at that matter. One thing that got me through writing this dissertation and being stress-free and actually enjoying the writing process was planning ahead and knowing that I had each section to do by this time and enjoying writing each section. I did all of my semester work in semester 1. We were basically given our dissertation towards the end of semester 1 over Christmas into January before semester 2 started. Now, I knew that I wanted to finish all my work by Christmas so that I could enjoy Christmas and have the time off that I wanted. So I needed my dissertation to be done by Christmas. It wasn't an option. It had to be done. So I just designated time, even if that was an hour a day, to do my dissertation. There is time to do it. You do not need to spend 6 hours in the library on that one project that is due before Christmas. In my head, my dissertation was due before Christmas. So you just get it done. If you want it to happen, just make time for it, and as long as you plan ahead, you'll be absolutely fine. You can still have a social life. I still had a social life. I still went home for the things that I wanted to do and loved, and went to see people that I wanted to see. And I got mine done by Christmas because I knew my boyfriend was coming home from Australia and I wanted to spend time with him and my family. So yeah, I just got it done. Yeah. Good luck to anyone writing their dissertation. I know now is the kind of time that people are going to be third years are going to be writing their dissertations anyway. Yeah, I hope it's not too stressful, and for those doing like 10,000, 20,000 word dissertations, I feel for you. Best of luck, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!